Hi, everybody. My name is David Goldberg. I am a practicing dermatologist in New York City and in New Jersey. I suppose this is the heart of the epicenter of COVID-19 in the United States. And so today's topic seemed appropriate as we're beginning to open our offices. And we're seeing so many people now who, both because of the stress of all the aspects of COVID-19 and the use of masks, they're breaking out with more and more acne and more severe acne. And so I'm going to focus on energy-based device treatments for acne. I'll go through what we've had, which has not been terribly successful, what we are now looking at, recent study that is about to be published, and some new data for some newer techniques. And I think you'll see that the future for energy-based device treatments for acne is actually quite exciting. So I've done studies for 3 companies recently in the last year or two in the use of energy-based device treatments for acne. Each of these studies is somewhat different. I'll describe them, and we did get research grants from these companies. I don't have to tell you that the process of acne and the formation of acneiform lesions is somewhat complicated. It involves the hypercornification of the pilosebaceous unit. It involves the ductal colonization by Propionibacterium acne. That is a key component. Certainly inflammation is a key component here, as is increased sebum production. So as we go through the approaches we use to treat these, we have to think about those different aspects. So why even use energy-based devices? We've had treatments for acne which have worked successfully for so many years, but the problem is most of those treatments require significant patient compliance. More and more people do not want to take systemic medications, which we often need for inflammatory acne, because they may have adverse reactions. People don't want to take oral medications, and we are increasingly beginning to get the energy targeted to the affected tissue, and as you'll see, they are increasingly working, these devices. So a long time ago, intense pulse light IPLs were used to treat acne. They work by activating porphyrins, which are stored in that P. acne. That results in production of singlet oxygen, which destroys the sebaceous glands. By destroying the sebaceous glands, we get decreased sebum. This has been a good approach for inflammatory and non-inflammatory acne. Cannot be used safely in darker skin types. And there are some pneumatic models that boost the efficacy. But many treatments and ongoing treatments have been required, and although this has been used, it's not used that much anymore. More commonly, infrared lasers are used, and most of the recent research looks at some of these. And these are near-infrared devices, anywhere between 700 to 1064 nanometers. They do penetrate deeper into the dermis than does intense pulse light. And here the target is the water in the sebaceous glands, and that leads to a decreased sebum output. So one of the original lasers was the 1320 or 1319 nanometer laser, and you can see the benefit of using infrared devices. Excuse me. The benefit of using infrared devices is not only can you treat the acne, but you can also see some improvement in her acne scarring. 1450 was used some 20 years ago by Dick Ross, published this data showing improvement in 48 hours. Problem with these lasers is they are quite painful, and what was noted with the 1450 nanometer laser is although in select patients it worked fairly well on the back, it did not work at all on the face. Now, increasingly, we're using 1064 nanometer systems and particularly microsecond systems. This is the Aerolase device, a 650 microsecond 1064 nanometer laser. And you can see significant inflammatory acne. This patient is Michael Golds from Nashville, Tennessee, and you can see the improvement here. Because it is a 1064 nanometer laser, a near-infrared device, it's very safe in darker skin types where the intense pulse light sources certainly have not been. And again, before and after 3 treatments. And before and after in a variety of skin types, darker, lighter, Asian, Latino, and African American in this case. So that led to a trial that we just did, and this paper has been accepted for publication, in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology, 2020. It's a randomized double-blind control study to determine efficacy, safety, tolerance of this 650 microsecond YAG laser in the treatment of, and note this, moderate to severe acne, not mild to moderate, but moderate to severe. And this is acne that historically has required some sort of oral treatment. And so we got to this, of course, because acne is one of the most common conditions that dermatologists, primary care physicians, aesthetic physicians treat on a regular basis. The pathogenesis, as I said, is multifactorial. You've got epidermal hyperproliferation, that's the hypercornification, that leads to excess sebum production, which blocks the pilosebaceous unit, and that leads to that increase in that bacteria that is seen in acne lesions, P. acne, and that leads to the inflammatory process that I discussed previously. And so we know that moderate acne is traditionally treated with topical cleansers, retinoids, antibiotics. Moderate to severe acne, though, often requires additional treatments with systemic antibiotics or oral retinoids. These treatments can be irritating, unsatisfactory. Chronic exacerbations or remissions are seen throughout adolescence, well into adulthood, and now in this COVID-19 era, certainly even later in life. In addition, confusion about treatment regimens, how to use what, how much must be used, issues of compliance have been a real problem for all of us. So this is a double-blind, parallel group study aimed to evaluate the efficacy and tolerance of a 650 microsecond 1064 nanometer laser, pulsed Nd:YAG laser. This is the Aerolase Lipod Neo in the treatment of moderate to severe acne on patients that were 12 to 40 years of age. So kids, adolescents, and then adults. It was a double-blinded, and this is unusual for acne studies. This is a double-blinded, randomized 3-center study with 60 subjects at that age group I mentioned. And as I said, with moderate to severe acne, a subject was either randomized to receive a treatment, either with the active laser or a controlled sham treatment cohort. The active treatment group of 30 subjects were treated with 4 sessions of the 650 microsecond laser throughout the period of the study, and the control group, also 30 subjects, were treated with a sham. It actually looked like the laser, sounded like the laser, but did not have the active laser wavelength. Visits took place during a 3-month period. Subjects were asked to have their photographs taken as well as complete self-evaluations. The usual analyses that you're used to seeing in all acne studies, whether laser or not. Porphyrin counts were taken using the Visio-Skin analysis system to look at the amount of bacteria present. Sebum was measured with a sebometer, and the sebum measurement was also assessed by the investigator and the subjects. And as I said, we looked at safety and adverse events at every single visit. And so moderate to severe acne, this is the global assessment scale, pretty commonly used in all acne studies. Moderate is many comedones, easily recognizable, small and medium papules, no nodules or cysts, and then severe has nodules and cysts that can be present. So those are the 2 groups that we entered. This is the device. It's small, simple, easy to move around. We use it for a variety of things, rejuvenation, pigmentation problems, vascular lesions, but in this case, it was used to treat acne. And so it's an unusual laser, not so much in the wavelength. There are many 1064 nanometer lasers on the market. It's unusual with the pulse duration. It's a microsecond pulse. So it's not a nano or pico. It's not a millisecond. It's microsecond, safe on all skin types. Because it's microsecond, no cooling is required. And that short pulse duration makes it so that it's very, very comfortable and diminishes the adverse events that occur. The fluids that we use, no surprise, did depend partly on skin type, and so lighter skin type, higher fluences, etc. So in looking at efficacy, subjects in the active treatment group had a significant overall improvement in everything we were looking for. Sebometer values on the forehead, left cheek, right cheek, and chin. The overall porphyrin count was decreased, and then clinically, the number of inflammatory and non-inflammatory lesions were also lessened. Subjects in the control group, the sham, experienced either worsening or no improvement of the inflammatory or non-inflammatory lesions all the way through the trial, from the beginning all the way to 3 months later. In looking at adverse events, local dermal tolerability, we looked at things you would expect: dryness, scaling, redness, erythema, and swelling edema. And then in terms of subjects, what they were looking for was subjective ratings of stinging, burning, itching, as well as tightness and drying. So we looked at different things, but they were all considered potential adverse events. All subjects were able to well tolerate the treatments based on both ours, the investigators, and the subject's dermal tolerability assessment, and there were virtually no significant adverse events reported whatsoever. Now let's look at some before and after photographs of the subjects in the control versus the active treatment groups. So here's the sham treatment. This is the control. You can see baseline on the left, 2 treatments later on the right, and you could argue it's either no better or maybe a little bit worse. Certainly it's not improved. That's the sham. Another sham treatment, at the end of the study, clearly this fellow got worse, which happens with acne, of course, and the sham didn't play any placebo effect at all. Here's an active treatment. This is 2 weeks after a single treatment, and already you can see some decrease in the number of acneiform papules. This is moderate. Another baseline, and after treatment on 1, 2 weeks later, look at her forehead. You can see the improvement there. She obviously still has some lesions. She has some erythema on her cheek and her chin, but she is improved as his lesions have flattened. And the same person, baseline, and then you can see the end of the study. This is 6 weeks after the baseline visit, and look at the improvement, and it's hard to argue with that. Here's another baseline, active treatment, post-treatment number 1, 2 weeks later, and then 4 weeks after the baseline visit, so post-treatment number 2, and you can see the progression of improvement as we continue with further treatments. And then here's a full set. This is baseline before, after treatment number 2, which is 6 weeks after the baseline visit, after treatment number 3, 8 weeks after the baseline visit, and then 12 weeks later at the end of the study. And it could be argued he's still having acneiform lesions. This is not meant to cure people, but you can see the significant improvement in the lesion count, in erythema, in the color of the skin, and obviously this correlated with sebometer measurements as well as porphyrin counts. Another active treatment, baseline, post-treatment number 1, 2 weeks after that baseline visit, post-treatment number 2, 4 weeks after the baseline, and then post-treatment number 3, this is now before that 4th visit, and you can see the improvement, and there's no question about it, on his forehead, on his cheeks, and on his chin. And then the other side, baseline, post-treatment number 1, post-treatment number 2, and then post-treatment number 3, significant clearing, happy patients, and a darker skin type as well. And so the other thing about this device is in this COVID era, where we're looking for safety, patients are obviously very conscious about treatment conditions and how does this approach enhance treatment safety? Well, it does not contact the skin at all. So there's absolutely no contact with the skin. It's got a unique collimated beam, which is distance independent. As I said, the 650 microsecond technology makes it really near painless, and skin cooling is not required. Treatment is sanitary, quick. Takes all of minutes, easy and tolerable, and we don't have to worry about the contact to skin where there might be spreading of pathogens. There's also suction of air from the skin treatment site, so that air intake is used to cool internal laser parts, but this also removes some of the plume coming off the skin surface. These airborne pathogens are destroyed inside the laser handpiece because of the high optical energy, and again, other devices have historically blown air and spread airborne pathogens, which is the last thing we want now. So in summary, this 650 microsecond 1064 nanometer NdF laser, again, the manufacturer in this case is Aerolase, well-tolerated, safe treatment for moderate to severe acne, high patient satisfaction of subjects in the active group compared to the control group, and there was sustained improvement seen 12 weeks after the final treatment in the active group compared to the control group. Suffice to say, we do expect and we are doing further treatments, but you can see the improvement. In the end, energy-based device treatment for acne is an alternative to systemic treatments. It's certainly an alternative to patients' noncompliance. They are effective, and they're increasingly being effective. The most readily available system right now that clearly does work is that microsecond NDX laser that I talked about. Minimal adverse events, but we've got exciting newer approaches. This is here to stay and certainly gives patients less stress during the COVID era.